such, humans have fought over its definition so much that there are a huge number of definitions of intelligence, so much so that it's probably not very intelligent to try to define it any further. The etymology of intelligence is clear, intelligere to choose between. Still, it's a concept that's difficult to use at this point, even though everybody knows what it is. Consciousness is similar, and it's also a word that needs a certain amount of unpacking. I think that there are many different definitions given by many different people. It's elusive, it's invisible, non-material, it's hard to define, and the etymology of the word is cum scire, in Latin, to know together. You can figure out consciousness. That's what's so interesting about modified states of consciousness, is that you become aware of the parameters of consciousness when you modify them. Because consciousness, you are ordinarily not aware of it, because it is that through which you perceive the world. So modifying your consciousness allows you to become aware of your gaze, of your consciousness. It's like when you have the glasses. The whole point is not to be aware of your glasses. The whole point is to look through your glasses and to see the world. But when you modify your consciousness, it's like you take your glasses off and you can actually look at them. So I'm deliberately not answering your question.
I'm a student of anthropology, and I'm doing my bachelor thesis on Ayahuasca as participant hallucination. You touched already on it, about it, swimming without getting wet. My question is in my paper whether it's possible to understand rituals in which Ayahuasca is used when you don't take it yourself. So I want to know if you can reflect a little bit more on it. If it's possible for anthropologists to understand those rituals if you don't take it yourself.
Anthropologists who study ayahuasca without drinking it are like priests who write about sex.
I want to add something to that, because what I've been doing for many years is being a participant observant in rituals. And it is very essential to have this modified state of consciousness to understand what's going on. Because all of a sudden, this ayahuasca makes you aware. You become much more sensible to what is going on. And for example, you can recognize a good shaman by his timing. A good shaman has a perfect timing. He does everything in the right moment. But you can only appreciate that by being under the influence of ayahuasca. Otherwise, you just think like how anthropologists thought of shamans in earlier days, that they were a kind of madman. Why is he doing all of a sudden this? But then you see, hey, this energy is in the room, or this person is starting to develop this kind of crisis, and this shaman just interacts in the right moment. And yeah, you have to take into account that this objectivity just doesn't exist when you do research in these rituals.
I'd like to ask a question, I think it's more practical also, for those of us who are interested in exploring more ayahuasca and not learning it secondhand. What would both of you recommend is the way you guys do that? Where in Holland, for example, but for example, recommend to go to South America, and some points in that respect.
Yeah, well, there's a very practical problem, and that in Holland only the Santo Daime Church is allowed to use ayahuasca as a sacrament. So I would never advise to do anything out of the law.
Yeah, dishing out advice is always difficult, especially finding out the in the legal context is not clear, but I think that inspiring oneself from indigenous traditions is a wise thing, and this also involves consulting literature. So there's a deeply informative literature now on the subject, and we've been quoting all kinds of books today. And I think that anybody interested in exploring these realms does well to look into this. And I think metaphors can be really useful in understanding. My favorite metaphor for talking about ayahuasca, ayahuasca is a power tool. And I think all of these plants and substances are vehicles. They transport you into a place. And so it's like going out onto the high seas in a power boat. And I don't know how to drive a power boat, and you probably don't know either. And if you're going to go out under the high seas, you need to have a pilot who knows how to drive. And you know, this is serious business. You don't just sort of show up in your t-shirt and your sandals and go across the Atlantic. You know, you get ready for it. And so, and ayahuasca is like that. It's not like smoking a joint or having a few beers. It really is like crossing the Atlantic or going out into the deep seas of the psyche. It's deep water and it's risky, and to think otherwise is just stupid.
I'd like to add something to this, because I very much like your comparison with a boat on the sea. Like, I've been crossing the Gulf of Biscay, which is well known in the winter for its bad seas, but in the summer it was like a lake. So you can go out there, you can drink ayahuasca. Like, for sure, people are here who have experience and who never had a really intense ayahuasca experience. It can be a flat sea, but then another time it can be life-threatening. So yeah, caution is really very important.
Well, you say that ayahuasca is risky, but it's a medicine too. And I'm really curious, sometimes people say you should not take, for example, psychedelics if you're sensitive for psychosis or, I don't know. Is it the same with ayahuasca? Is there like a risk? Really like, because it's a medicine too, no?
Yeah. Like people take medicine for healing, and people with a history of psychosis or I call it maniacal depressive, that can be potentially dangerous when they use ayahuasca. At the same time, they come for healing. So, well, this is actually a question for the individual shaman or facilitator who doesn't, whether he or she wants to take the risk to do that.
Just about that, it's an important question. This is an understudied subject, and so the answer is necessarily a little bit anecdotal, but I think those of us who have looked at the track record of LSD know that there have been some acid casualties. In other words, you know, people who are kind of borderline and then who take the LSD and then don't really ever come back properly. Such people exist, and I've known one personally. Just what the percentage is would be interesting to have some serious science on. I think from my personal experience, ayahuasca is gentler than LSD on that count, but still it is not completely without